stars stretched endlessly across the dark sky as the UHS Resolute glided through the deep silence of space. It was one of Earth's finest exploration ships, carrying scientists, diplomats, and brave souls who dreamed of new worlds. Among them was Lieutenant Ethan Cole, a young diplomat chosen for his calm voice and honest heart. He was known not for his rank or medals, but for his ability to speak with kindness even in tense moments. For months, the Resolute had been traveling beyond known human space, exploring systems no one from Earth had ever seen. Their mission was peaceful, to meet new civilizations, share knowledge, and build bridges between species. Humanity had changed since the old wars. They had learned that courage was not only in fighting but also in understanding. Ethan spent most of his time in the ship's observation dome, looking at the stars. He often wondered what kind of beings might live among those distant lights. Were they kind? Were they curious? Or were they afraid of humans the way humans once feared the unknown? One quiet evening, as the ship floated near a nebula glowing blue and gold, a strange signal appeared on their sensors. It wasn't random. It had rhythm, beauty, and harmony, almost like music. The captain, Commander Helena Voss, listened closely as the sound echoed through the bridge. "It's a distress call," she said, frowning. "But it's not any language we know." Ethan stepped forward. "Maybe it's an invitation," he suggested softly. "Or a message from a civilization trying to communicate." After some debate, the captain agreed to follow the signal. It led them to a shining planet wrapped in a layer of glowing mist, Elindra. The world looked alive, almost breathing, with continents of crystal and rivers that shimmered with light. The ship's scanners detected advanced energy patterns but no signs of hostility. The crew landed on a floating platform that hovered above a sea of blue light. The air felt warm and the atmosphere was filled with soft music, as if the planet itself was singing. Then from the horizon, figures appeared. Tall, graceful beings made of translucent light. They moved like flowing water, their bodies shifting colors with emotion. At their center stood one who shone brighter than the rest. She was Princess Serafina, daughter of the Aelari High Sovereign. Her presence made the air feel calm and radiant. Her eyes were pools of silver light, and her voice sounded like wind across a crystal lake. "Travelers from the world of men," she said, her tone gentle yet powerful. "You have crossed the veil of starlight to reach Elindra. You are welcome here." Ethan bowed deeply. "We come in peace, Princess. We wish to learn, to share, and to understand your people." Serafina tilted her head slightly, studying him. "Your hearts carry both fire and wonder," she said. "Few among the stars dare to approach us without fear." Commander Voss introduced her crew, explaining Earth's hope for friendship among the stars. Serafina listened patiently. Her expression was unreadable, but there was curiosity in her eyes when she looked at Ethan. "You speak with respect," she told him, "yet your soul trembles with questions." Ethan smiled shyly. "I suppose I've waited my whole life to meet someone from beyond our sky. I never thought it would feel this peaceful." Serafina's faint smile lit the space around her. "Peace is a rare gift," she said. "Perhaps your people have learned what many have forgotten." She invited the humans to the Hall of Light, a grand structure made of living crystal that floated high above Elindra's surface. Inside, walls pulsed gently with color as though alive. The Aelari showed them wonders, technology that grew like plants, ships made of light, and archives that recorded memories instead of words. Ethan was mesmerized. Everything on Elindra seemed to live in harmony. There were no weapons, no soldiers standing guard, only graceful beings and songs that filled the air. He felt as though he had stepped into a dream. When the official greetings were over, Serafina offered to show Ethan the Garden of Luminescence, a place where Aelari gathered to reflect beneath glowing trees. They walked side by side across a bridge of light that arched above a sea of clouds. Stars shimmered below them, reflected from the planet's surface. "Your world is beautiful," Ethan said quietly. "So is yours," Serafina replied. "I have seen it through your ship's memory images, oceans, forests, mountains. But I sense sadness too. Your people carry the memory of many wars." Ethan nodded. "Yes, we made mistakes, but we also learned from them. Now we try to build instead of destroy." Serafina looked at him with something like admiration. "That is rare among the stars. Many races grow strong and then fall to their own pride. Perhaps humanity is different." He looked into her glowing eyes, and for a moment time seemed to stop. Maybe we're just stubborn, he said with a smile. Serafina laughed softly. The sound was like bells ringing in the wind. Then I like your stubbornness. They walked for hours talking about their worlds. She told him about the star core, the living heart of Alindra that powered their entire planet. She explained how the Elari believed all life was connected by light, and how darkness could never truly destroy it. As they reached the top of a crystal hill, they could see the entire horizon glowing. Ethan felt something deep inside him, awe, peace, and a warmth he had never known. The stars above looked closer than ever, and beside him stood a being of pure light who felt more real than anything he had ever known. He whispered to himself, barely audible, "I wish I could wed her." The words escaped without thought, carried by wonder and sincerity. He thought no one had heard, but Serafina turned her head slightly, her expression calm yet curious. Her silver eyes met his, and she smiled softly, the glow around her brightening. For a moment she said nothing, only studied his face as if searching for truth. Then in a voice so gentle it blended with the wind, she replied, "Then you shall." Ethan froze. His heart skipped. "What?" he said, startled. Serafina looked ahead at the shining horizon. "Among my people, words born from the heart are heard by the stars," she said. "When you spoke, the stars listened, and so did I." He didn't know what to say. He felt both embarrassed and overwhelmed. Was she serious? Was it a tradition of her people, or was she teasing him in her own calm way? Before he could speak again, she continued, "Perhaps your wish is not only of affection but of fate. The light we see in each other may yet shape the path of both our worlds." Ethan looked at her, completely lost for words. The only thing he could feel was a deep warmth spreading through him, not from the air or the light, but from the strange connection forming between them. As night fell over Alindra, the stars reflected in the crystalline lakes. The human ship shone softly in the distance, waiting. But Ethan stayed beside the Princess of Light, both silent, watching the universe unfold. In that silence, something ancient and powerful stirred, a bond that neither human nor Elari could explain. It was not just curiosity or wonder. It was the beginning of something that would change both their worlds forever. For the first time, Ethan truly believed that humanity's greatest strength was not its machines or weapons. It was the courage to feel, to hope, and to reach out across the unknown. And on that luminous night, beneath 1,000 stars, the alien princess's promise lingered in the air. "Then you shall." The morning light of Alindra was unlike any dawn Ethan had ever seen. Instead of a rising sun, the sky brightened in waves of gold and violet light that danced across the crystal towers. Every surface shimmered as if the planet itself was alive and waking up. Ethan stood on a balcony made of transparent stone, watching the horizon glow. The memories of last night still circled in his mind. The princess's soft smile, her calm voice, and those 4 simple words that refused to fade. "Then you shall." He had not meant to say his wish aloud, and yet somehow it had changed everything. He wasn't sure if she was serious or simply following her people's customs. But the warmth in her tone made him believe it was more than just politeness. Before long, a gentle sound filled the air. The door to his chamber opened and a familiar light entered. It was Princess Serafina. She glowed faintly, her presence bright but soothing like sunlight through morning mist. "Good morning, Lieutenant Ethan," she greeted kindly. "Did you rest well?" Ethan nodded, though he hadn't slept much. "Yes, Your Highness. The air here feels different, peaceful," she smiled. "Elindra's breath carries harmony. It helps quiet restless hearts," he laughed lightly. "That explains why I feel calmer here than I ever did back on Earth." Serafina gestured toward the open sky. "Would you walk with me? There is much I wish to show you, and much for you to learn." Ethan agreed at once. They left the floating palace and stepped onto a glowing bridge that led toward the Crystal Archives, one of Elindra's oldest and most sacred places. The bridge curved through the clouds, and far below, rivers of light flowed like molten gold. As they walked, Serafina explained, "The Crystal Archives are not built of stone or glass. They are alive. Each crystal contains memories of our people, our ancestors, and our world. Every light holds a story." When they entered the archives, Ethan's eyes widened. The vast hall was filled with thousands of floating crystals, each glowing softly in different colors. As Serafina touched one, it projected moving images into the air, scenes of long ago, shining cities, starships of light, and ancient beings who looked like her. "This," she said, "is our past. We Ellery have traveled the stars for ages. We built wonders, shared knowledge, and lived in harmony with light itself. But then came fear." Her glow dimmed slightly as she spoke. "Many races saw our power and feared it. Some called us ghosts. Others thought we were gods. Wars were fought. We withdrew from the stars and built Elindra's veil, a shield of mist that hides our world. For centuries we remained alone." Ethan listened quietly. "Until now," he said. She turned to him, her eyes brightening again. "Yes, until your people came." Ethan looked around at the endless crystals. "I understand why you hid. But humanity has changed. We've learned that fear only keeps us apart. Maybe this meeting can heal what the stars broke long ago." Seraphina's smile returned, soft and genuine. "Perhaps," she said. "You humans are strange. You carry both light and shadow, but your hearts still reach upward." They continued deeper into the archives, where the air hummed faintly. Ethan stopped near a glowing pillar that pulsed weakly, its light flickering. "What's this one?" he asked. Seraphina's expression turned serious. "That," she said softly, "is the Star Core's heart link, the memory of Elindra's power. It grows dim because our planet's energy is fading. The Star Core that sustains our world is dying." Ethan frowned. "Can it be repaired?" "No," she replied sadly. "It is not a machine. It is a living bond between Elindra and her people. It can only be restored by pure harmony, something that has not existed among us for many ages. Our people have grown distant from the light. They live, but they do not feel." Ethan felt a deep sadness for her people. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "If there's anything humans can do to help, we will." Seraphina looked at him, her expression thoughtful. "You already have, Ethan. You brought new energy to our world, curiosity, courage, emotion. You remind us that life is not only about perfection, but about hope." He smiled shyly. "That's kind of you to say, but I'm just one man." "Sometimes," she said, "one heart is enough to start the light again." They spent many hours walking through the archives, sharing stories. Ethan told her about Earth, about rain that fell from the sky, about the sound of waves, about forests and snow. Seraphina listened in wonder, imagining a world so different from hers. "Rain," she repeated. "Water that falls from the clouds. How strange, yet beautiful." "It smells fresh," Ethan said with a smile, "and it makes you feel alive. Maybe one day you'll see it yourself." Her eyes softened. "Perhaps, but only if our world survives long enough." They walked back to the garden as the glowing sky darkened into night. Tiny lights floated around them like fireflies, and the air shimmered with warmth. For a moment, the worries of the fading star core disappeared. They sat by a lake that reflected the stars above. The water was so clear it looked like glass. Seraphina waved her hand gently, and the surface rippled, showing glowing images, fragments of memories. Ethan leaned closer. "What is that?" "Echoes of thought," she explained. "Our world listens to emotions. When you feel deeply, Elindra remembers." He hesitated, then said softly, "It must be remembering a lot tonight." She smiled faintly. "Indeed." For a while they sat in silence, just watching the light. Ethan could feel the bond between them growing stronger, even though he barely understood it. It wasn't only attraction. It was a connection of two souls who saw the world through different eyes but shared the same longing. He finally asked, "Princess, last night, when you said 'then you shall,' did you mean it?" Seraphina looked into his eyes. "Among my people, words of promise are not spoken lightly. I do not know what the stars intend, Ethan, but I felt truth in your wish. Perhaps our paths were meant to cross." He felt his heart race. "But humans in Ailery, we're different." "It might not be possible." She shook her head gently. "Light and life are different too, yet they coexist. Perhaps what binds us is not our form, but our spirit." Her words filled him with wonder and peace. He realized she was not speaking only of love, but of unity, understanding, and hope between their worlds. Before they could say more, the ground beneath them trembled slightly. A ripple of dark light passed through the air, and the sky flickered for a moment. Seraphina rose quickly, her expression worried. "The Star Core," she whispered. "Its energy pulse is unstable again." Ethan stood. "Is it dangerous?" "If it continues, Elindra's shield may weaken," she said. "We will need to strengthen it soon." Her voice grew calm again. But Ethan saw fear behind her eyes. Fear not for herself, But for her people, I'll help however I can, he said firmly. She looked at him with quiet gratitude. Your offer honors me, Ethan. You remind me of something we once believed, that courage is light in human form. As they walked back to the palace, Ethan glanced up at the glowing stars. They seemed closer now, as if watching. Something told him that his meeting with the princess was no accident. Maybe destiny had brought him to Alindra for a reason, not just to speak, but to stand with her when the time came. And as the wind carried faint music through the night, he thought again of her gentle smile, of her words that still echoed in his heart. Then you shall. He didn't yet know what that promise truly meant, but deep inside he felt that his life and the future of two worlds had already begun to change forever. Days passed peacefully on Alindra, but beneath the calm glow of the skies a quiet unease began to rise. The star core, the planet's life source, had started to pulse irregularly. Its once steady rhythm of light now flickered weakly, as though the world itself was catching its breath. Princess Seraphina spent many hours in the Hall of Radiance, standing before the great sphere of light that formed the star core's outer chamber. Its glow shimmered faintly around her, painting her face with soft gold. Ethan often stood nearby, watching her from a respectful distance. He could see the worry in her expression. Even when she smiled, her eyes betrayed her fear. Alindra was dying slowly, and no one knew how to stop it. That evening, as twilight spread across the crystal towers, Ethan received a transmission from the UHS Resolute orbiting above. The captain's voice carried a sense of urgency. Lieutenant Cole, this is Commander Voss. Our scanners have detected unknown ships entering this sector. They're not Alari vessels. Ethan's expression turned serious. How many? 3 warships, possibly more behind them. Their design matches no known peaceful faction. Stay alert down there. We're preparing defensive positions. Ethan quickly found Seraphina in the star chamber. She looked up as he entered, her light dimming slightly as if she sensed what he was about to say. Princess, he began carefully, we may have trouble coming our way. Our sensors detected ships approaching your world. Seraphina's voice grew calm but firm. It is the Draxians, I fear. They have sought the power of Alindra for centuries. If they reach our star core, they will take its energy and leave our world lifeless. Ethan clenched his fists. Then we'll stop them. Seraphina shook her head gently. You are brave, Ethan, but the Draxians are many and we are few. The Alari have not fought a war in thousands of years. Our people have forgotten how. He stepped closer, determination in his voice. Then let us remember together. Humanity may not have your light, but we know how to stand when the odds are against us. Her eyes glowed softly as she looked at him. Would you fight for a world not your own? Ethan nodded without hesitation. For this world, and for you, yes. For a moment, silence filled the chamber. The glow from the star core brightened slightly, as if the planet itself heard his vow. Seraphina placed her hand on her chest and bowed her head. Then let the stars witness your courage. By nightfall, the Draxian fleet had arrived. From orbit, their ships appeared as dark shadows cutting across the bright mist of Alindra. The Resolute and a few Alari defense platforms moved to intercept, but the Draxians opened fire without warning. Blue energy bolts streaked through space, shaking the heavens. The ground trembled as explosions flashed in the distant sky. The people of Alindra, unused to war, panicked. The glowing cities dimmed as citizens sought shelter within the crystal halls. Ethan and Seraphina stood atop the palace balcony, watching the battle unfold. The Draxians seek the star core, Seraphina said. If they breach our defenses, they will descend here. Ethan turned to her. Then we defend this place. Can your people fight? Some can, she said softly. But they fear. They do not understand violence. Their light has always been for creation, not destruction. Then let me show them, Ethan replied. He spoke to her guards and engineers, teaching them basic tactics, how to use barriers, how to move in formation, how to protect the weak. It was not much, but it gave the Alari something they had lost, a purpose. Soon, Seraphina herself stood beside them, her hands glowing with bright energy. We shall not fight to destroy, she told her people. We shall fight to preserve, to guard the light of Alindra. Her words spread like fire through their hearts. For the first time in centuries, the Alari raised their shining spears, forming a shield wall of light. Humans from the Resolute who had landed joined them, standing shoulder to shoulder with their glowing allies. Ethan looked around and felt a surge of pride. "Let them come," he said. "We'll show them what unity looks like." The first Draxian landing craft pierced the sky like falling meteors. When they struck the surface, the air filled with dust and smoke. Out of the fire stepped tall figures clad in dark armor, their eyes glowing red. The Draxians were creatures of shadow, half machine, half flesh, driven by greed and hunger for power. They marched toward the palace, weapons humming with energy. Ethan shouted, "Hold the line!" Elari warriors raised their glowing shields. Light and shadow clashed as energy bolts struck the barriers, sending ripples through the air. The humans returned fire with plasma rifles, their blasts lighting up the crystal plains. Elindra's peaceful ground became a battlefield of colors. Blue fire, golden light, and crimson sparks. Ethan fought at the front beside Serafina. Each time he thought he would fall, her light surrounded him, healing and protecting. Together they became something unstoppable, flesh and light fighting as one. The Draxians were fierce, but they were not prepared for unity between two species. Slowly, the defenders pushed them back, but the victory was short-lived. High above, one massive Draxian battleship fired a beam straight into Elindra's atmosphere. The ground shook violently. "The Star Core," Serafina cried. "They are draining it." She ran toward the inner sanctum, with Ethan following close behind. Inside the temple, the great sphere of light flickered rapidly, its glow dimming as dark tendrils of energy crept across its surface. Ethan stared in shock. "They're stealing its energy!" Serafina placed her hands on the glowing core, her face filled with pain. "If this continues, our world will collapse." He grabbed her shoulders gently. "What can we do?" Her voice trembled. "There is a way, but it is dangerous. To restore balance, the Star Core needs a new bond. Two living souls joined in harmony. One of light and one of life. It is an ancient fusion ritual, a sacred act that few have ever survived." Ethan understood at once. "You mean, you and me?" She nodded, eyes shining with quiet courage. "Yes, you carry the energy of life, human spirit, strength, emotion. I carry light, peace, memory, and connection. Together we can restore Elindra's heart." He hesitated. "And if we fail?" "Then we both fade," she said softly. The silence that followed was heavy, but Ethan's decision came easily. He looked into her radiant eyes and said firmly, "Then let it be so. I won't let your world die." A soft light filled the room as Serafina reached out and took his hands. "You would share your soul with me, Ethan Cole of Earth?" He nodded. "I already have." Her expression softened into something between sorrow and love. "Then we must begin before the Draxians return." As she started the ritual, the Star Core pulsed brighter, sensing their resolve. Streams of light rose around them, wrapping their bodies in glowing ribbons. The sound of distant thunder echoed through the chamber, mixing with the hum of the core. Outside, the last of the Draxian ships retreated under heavy fire from the Resolute, but victory felt hollow. The sky was darkening, the planet trembling. Every being on Elindra looked up, seeing the central light of their world flicker between life and death. Inside the temple, Ethan and Serafina stood surrounded by energy. Their hands were joined, their eyes locked. She whispered, "Close your eyes and let the light in." "Do not fear it," he obeyed, and as their energies merged, Ethan felt his heart expand beyond his body. He could see her memories, her emotions, her endless patience and wisdom. She, in turn, saw his memories of Earth, the smell of rain, the sound of laughter, and the feeling of hope. Then everything went white. The last thing Ethan heard before darkness claimed him was her voice, soft and full of faith. "Together we shall bring back the dawn." The chamber of the Star Core glowed like a living sun, trembling with power. Streams of golden light circled the tall crystal walls while the air hummed softly, as if the planet itself was breathing. In the middle of this great room stood Ethan Cole and Princess Serafina, their hands joined, their eyes filled with calm determination. Outside, Elindra shook under the weight of the Draxian attack. The sky was covered with dark ships that tried again and again to pierce the planet's radiant shield. But now, all hope rested inside this chamber, where one human and one being of light prepared to risk everything. Serafina took a deep breath. Her glow brightened until she looked almost transparent. "Ethan," she said softly, "once the fusion begins, there is no return. Our souls will unite. You will see through my eyes and I through yours." Ethan nodded firmly. If that's what it takes to save your world, then I'm ready. You are not afraid? She asked. He smiled. Maybe a little, but I trust you. Her expression softened. Then let us trust the light together. They both stepped closer to the great sphere that was the star core. It pulsed weakly, the colors fading between silver and blue. Serafina raised her hands and lines of light extended from her palms, connecting her to the core. Then she gestured toward Ethan. Place your hands here, she instructed gently. When Ethan did, a surge of warmth spread through him. It wasn't pain, it was life. He felt his heart beat faster, but instead of fear, he sensed peace flowing through every part of him. The chamber's glow brightened and soft music filled the air. It wasn't from any instrument. It was the sound of pure harmony, the voice of Alindra itself. Serafina closed her eyes. Repeat after me, she said in a calm voice. Light of stars bond our hearts. Ethan repeated the words. Breath of life join our souls, he echoed her again. Through unity, may hope rise. The moment he spoke the last line, the floor beneath them turned into a pool of glowing light. It rose like water, surrounding them in a golden sphere. Ethan felt his thoughts drift, and suddenly he was no longer standing in the chamber. He was floating in a sea of memories. He saw through Serafina's eyes, her childhood among the crystal gardens, her lessons in the Hall of Radiance, the first time she touched the star core. He felt her loneliness as she watched her people grow distant from their light, her hope that someday the stars would send help. Then her memories blended with his own. She saw Earth through his heart, green forests, blue oceans, children laughing, and rain falling on rooftops. She saw his struggles, his losses, his endless hope that humanity could become something better. In that shared space of mind and memory, their emotions became one. There was no fear, no barrier between them, and only understanding. Serafina's voice echoed gently through the light. Ethan, do you see now? Light and life were never meant to be apart. Together they are balance. Yes, he whispered, his voice steady, and together we'll save your world. The light around them brightened until it filled everything. Energy flowed from Ethan's chest into Serafina's hands and from her into the star core. The dying sphere began to pulse again, stronger with each beat. Outside, the sky cleared as waves of golden energy swept through Alindra's surface, pushing back the Draxian shadows. But the power of the fusion was enormous. The floor shook and crystals cracked from the force. Ethan felt the light burning inside him. It was not painful, but it was overwhelming, like trying to hold an entire star within his heart. Serafina sensed his struggle and reached for his hand. Do not resist, she said. Let it flow. He looked at her, his eyes glowing faintly now, reflecting her light. If I let it flow, will I still be me? She smiled, calm and full of warmth. You will be more than you are, and so will I. He closed his eyes, surrendering to the light. For a long moment there was only silence. Then suddenly the entire star core erupted in a brilliant wave that spread across the planet. Every city, every crystal tower, every river of light shimmered brighter than ever before. The shield above Alindra strengthened, driving the Draxian fleet away. Their ships, blinded by the radiance, broke formation and retreated into the dark void. On the surface, the Aelari looked to the sky, tears of shining light flowing down their faces. They felt the warmth of their world return. The great energy they had lost for centuries was alive again. Inside the chamber, the golden sphere slowly faded. Where two figures once stood, now there was only one silhouette at first. Tall, glowing, half human and half light. Then, as the brightness settled, Ethan and Serafina became visible again. Ethan fell to his knees, breathing heavily. His body shimmered faintly with threads of silver light running through his skin. His eyes, once blue, now reflected a soft white glow. Serafina knelt beside him, her face shining with both relief and awe. You did it, she whispered. He smiled weakly. No, we did it. She helped him stand, supporting him with her light. You are changed, she said softly. The fusion has touched your soul. You are no longer only human. He looked at his glowing hands and then at her. Then I guess I belong to two worlds now. Serafina's smile deepened. A bridge between light and life. That is what you have become. Outside, the people of Alindra gathered below the palace, their voices rising in song. Their glow lit the skies in celebration. For the first time in centuries, their world felt alive again. Commander Voss contacted them from the Resolute. Lieutenant Cole, the Draxians are retreating. The planet's energy readings are stabilizing. What happened down there? Ethan looked at Serafina and replied softly, a promise was kept. Voss smiled faintly through the static. Understood, Lieutenant. The galaxy just witnessed a miracle. Later that night, Ilindra's cities glowed brighter than ever before. The Aelari and the humans from the Resolute gathered together in the Garden of Luminescence, celebrating the rebirth of the world. Soft music filled the air while the rivers of light flowed gently. Ethan sat beneath a glowing tree, still feeling the new energy moving through him. Serafina joined him, her radiance gentle, her eyes filled with warmth. How do you feel? She asked. Different, he admitted. Like I can hear the stars breathing. That is the voice of Ilindra, she said. It speaks to you now because you are part of it. He smiled quietly. I think I'll need time to understand all this. She nodded. Time you shall have. The light is patient. They both sat silently watching the night sky. The stars seemed closer now, shining brighter than ever. Serafina turned to him. Ethan, your people will tell stories about this day. They will call it the day humanity and light became one. He looked at her with a soft smile. And what will your people call it? The day hope returned, she said. A gentle wind passed through the garden, carrying the faint echo of laughter and song. Serafina stood, her gown shimmering like starlight. Come, Ethan, the world awaits the dawn. He rose beside her, feeling both human and something beyond human. As they walked toward the horizon, the first light of Ilindra's new sunrise spread across the sky, golden and endless. For the first time since his arrival, Ethan truly felt at home, not just on this planet, but among the stars themselves. And though the galaxy had nearly fallen into darkness, it was a human heart and an alien soul, united in courage and love, that brought the light back. Years had passed since the day Ilindra's star core was restored. The once dying planet now shimmered brighter than ever, a beacon of light across the galaxy. Rivers of energy flowed through crystal towers, gardens glowed with soft luminescence, and the people of Ilindra moved with a renewed spirit. At the center of this vibrant world stood Ethan Cole, no longer just a human but a being of both life and light. Threads of silvery glow ran along his skin, and his eyes reflected the brilliance of Ilindra itself. He had become a bridge between two worlds, human and Aelari, a living symbol of unity and hope. Beside him walked Princess Serafina, whose radiant presence had grown even more luminous after the fusion ritual. She was not only a princess but also a guide and teacher for her people and humanity alike. Together they had built a bond that no darkness could break, and their love was now known across the stars. Ethan often stood on the balcony of the Palace of Light, gazing at the galaxy beyond Ilindra. Ships traveled to and from the planet, carrying ambassadors, scientists, and explorers. Humans had come to witness the miracle of the star core, and the Aelari had learned to trust other races once again. The bridge between worlds was strong. Serafina joined him quietly, her glowing hand resting gently on his. Do you remember the first night? She asked softly. Ethan smiled. When I whispered my wish? Yes, she said, smiling. And I told you, then you shall. He nodded, remembering the awe and fear that had filled his heart. I never thought a few words could change so much. Her gaze softened. Words are powerful when they come from the heart. Your courage and honesty helped more than you know. They stood in silence for a moment, watching the stars twinkle. Below them, Ilindra's cities gleamed like a constellation on the planet itself. The alliance of humans and Aelari had grown since that day. Scholars and engineers worked together, sharing technology and knowledge. Children from both species played side by side, learning each other's languages, games, and stories. Humans marveled at the gentle wisdom of the Aelari, while the Aelari admired humanity's resilience and curiosity. Ethan often visited the children, telling them tales of courage, friendship, and the day when two hearts saved a world. The star core shines because of love and trust, he would say, not just power. Remember, courage comes in many forms, and hope can change even the darkest nights. Serafina would sometimes add, unity is the strongest light of all. When two hearts, two souls, or even two species work together, they can create miracles. Their lessons were not just stories. They became the foundation for a new era. Ilindra and Earth grew closer, exchanging scientists, students, and explorers. Humanity learned to understand light in a way no one had imagined, and the Aelari began to appreciate human creativity, emotion, and determination. One day, a grand ceremony was held in the Temple of Stars to honor the bond between the two worlds. Humans and Aelari alike gathered, filling the air with laughter and song. The Star Corps pulsed brightly, as if celebrating the unity it had inspired. Ethan and Seraphina stood before the crowd holding hands. Their glow intertwined, creating a warm aura that bathed the assembly in light. Seraphina spoke first. "Today we celebrate not only the Star Corps but the courage and love that saved our world," she said. "We celebrate the humans who came without fear, and the Aelari who remembered hope. Most of all, we celebrate the bond between two hearts, different in form but united in spirit." Ethan stepped forward, his voice strong. "We have learned that courage is not in the absence of fear, but in facing it together. Love and unity are more powerful than any weapon. Together we have shown the galaxy that life, light, and hope can conquer even the darkest threats." The crowd cheered. Humans clapped their hands and Aelari voices rose in harmonious song. Ethan felt a deep joy, knowing that the bond he and Seraphina had formed had inspired an entire planet, and beyond. As years went by, their legacy only grew stronger. Ethan and Seraphina traveled between worlds, encouraging exploration, cooperation, and understanding. Humanity learned to harness the lessons of Elindra: patience, harmony, and respect for the natural and cosmic order. Elindra, in turn, learned to embrace curiosity, resilience, and creativity, qualities humans had nurtured for millennia. The Star Corps remained strong, a living reminder of what two worlds could achieve when they chose trust over fear. And in the palace, Ethan and Seraphina continued to grow together, learning from each other's strengths and sharing in the joys and sorrows of life. Ethan sometimes walked alone to the edge of the palace balcony, gazing at the galaxy. He could see distant stars that humans had never explored, and wondered what other worlds might exist beyond the reach of Elindra and Earth. One evening, Seraphina joined him, her glow soft and comforting. "You think of other worlds," she said. "I do," he replied. "But I also think of this one. We saved it once, and together we can protect it forever." She smiled, "And perhaps teach others the same lesson, that hope and courage can shine brighter than fear." Ethan took her hand in his, feeling the warmth of her light mixing with his own. "Do you remember when I whispered my wish?" he asked. She laughed softly, a sound like bells in the wind. "I do. And I told you, then you shall. You see how true that became," he nodded. "Not just for me, but for all of us." Time passed and the tale of Ethan and Seraphina became legend. Across the galaxy, explorers spoke of the human who stood with the alien princess and the fusion that saved a world. Scholars wrote of the first alliance between Elindra and Earth. Children drew pictures of glowing towers, golden rivers, and two heroes walking hand in hand beneath the stars. Even the Draxians, who once sought to conquer Elindra, learned to respect its light. They never returned, for the story of the fusion ritual spread, a reminder that unity and courage could protect even the most vulnerable worlds. And so, the planet that was once on the brink of collapse now thrived. Humans and Aelari shared festivals, music, art, and knowledge. Gardens of light stretched across Elindra, where children of both species played freely. Explorers from Earth studied the Star Corps, fascinated by the living energy, and returned home to tell stories of the miraculous planet. Ethan and Seraphina often stood together at the edge of Elindra's great crystal plains, watching the horizon. The sun never rose or set in the way humans expected, but the flowing light was more beautiful than any sunrise on Earth. "You were right," Ethan said one evening. "The stars do listen." Seraphina smiled, her hand resting over his. "Not the stars, Ethan. You spoke with your heart. That is what they respond to." He squeezed her hand gently. "Then it was you who heard me first." Her eyes glimmered with warmth. "And I will listen always." In the quiet of the night, as rivers of glowing light wound through the crystal cities, Ethan realized that the greatest power in the universe was not strength, not weapons, nor even knowledge. It was love, courage, and unity. With a human heart and an Aelari soul, he had learned that hope could rise even from despair. And together, he and Seraphina had shown that two worlds, no matter how different, could shine as one. And so the legacy of two worlds continued. Across galaxies, children were taught of the courage of humanity and the wisdom of the Aelari. Explorers journeyed beyond known space with hope in their hearts, inspired by a human and a princess who had believed in each other. Even as centuries passed, the story of Ethan Cole and Princess Seraphina remained alive, proof that love, bravery, and unity could shape the stars themselves. And in the quiet moments, when the light of Alindra shimmered against the galaxy, one could still see two figures walking hand in hand, human and Ailari, watching over the world they had saved and the future they had built together.